Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and it is time for the Game Week 18 tier list video where we're going to go through some of the most popular transfers for Game Week 18 and rank them as how good they are as transfers, basically, in my opinion. If you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like, especially if you are back and happy to be back involved with FPL, really. And do subscribe if you're new around here as well, if you want more FPL content. But let's get straight on with the tier list. Alright guys, so I've got 25 players today. They are the 25 most popular players currently in terms of transfers in for Game Week 18. We're just going to go through all of them today. We're going to put them in these 5 categories: must-buys, great transfers, good transfers, optionals, and avoids. Straight up avoids. So let's start off with the 25th most popular transfer, working our way to the most popular one. We're going to start off with Anthony Martial, who I'm going to put in. I think I'm going to put him in good transfer. I think it's a reasonably good one. Wolves up next for Manchester United, which is a pretty decent fixture. I think he could be an okay player to go for. I don't think he's a must-have or anything like that. I still think there are some slightly better forward options to go for at this moment, but still, Martial, I quite like him. I think he's a good transfer, and I think if you're looking for that forward to go into your team, then maybe that's the guy for you. Next up, let's put in Tim Ream, and I'm going to put him straight in at avoid, and I believe Tim Ream is going to be the knee-jerk transfer of the week, where a lot of people are just looking at his points from Game Week 17 and thinking, wow, he's cheap, 4.5 million, 15 points, that's absolutely insane. I think he's going to get it every single week. He's not going to get it every single week. Fulham have consistently been one of the worst defences in the Premier League, possibly even the worst defence in the Premier League, and they've just been conceding so many goals, and they were pretty fortunate to be playing against a 9-man Crystal Palace team in Game Week 17 and able to keep that clean sheet. Crystal Palace, incidentally, are also the worst attack in the league at the moment as well, so they have the best possible fixture. They played against 9 men. That's the only real reason why they were able to stay defensively solid. And Tim Ream, if you think he's going to get some more goals, then you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed. Tim Ream is 35 years old and has scored 5 goals in his entire professional career. He's averaging something like 1 goal every 3 years. So you'll be waiting a long time before you get another goal out of your Tim Ream if you do buy him. So definitely an avoid for me, even with his double game week. You know, if he concedes 4 goals in that double game week, he's still going to only come out with like 2 points. So it's not worth it. Go for someone else. Even a single game week player is better than Tim Ream in a double game week, in my opinion, just because Fulham are just so bad defensively. Next up, Gabriel, who I think is probably going to be a good transfer slash an optional transfer. I'm going to put him in good transfer because I feel like he does have that really nice aerial ability. 5.2 million as well, playing for one of the best defences in the league with some okay fixtures. The fixtures aren't amazing, but they're okay. And Arsenal, we do have a lot of faith in them at the moment, don't we? With the way they've been playing, come back after the break, back with a bang. I think a few of us are a little bit worried about how Arsenal are going to be with the loss of Jesus, with a big break between their high form before the break, but yeah, still looking very good for Arsenal. Gabriel, a decent pick, I would say. Next up, let's go for Kai Havertz, who I'm going to put in. I feel like I'm not quite prepared to put him in good transfer, but he is a really nice and interesting differential to go for, especially if you're looking to capitalise on Chelsea's double game week in Game Week 19. But it's a real risky one. We've seen consistently how inconsistent Havertz has been. So he's not a player I'd be particularly convinced by. And 7.7 million is, again, a little bit expensive, isn't it? It's not like he's a cheap differential that you can afford for it to go wrong. You're going to have to find a decent amount of money to make this happen. So I'm not convinced by this one. Erling Haaland, must buy. Do I need to say any more? Probably not. Let's put him straight in the must buy category. You just got to have him. And you've probably got to captain him near enough every single game week as well. The one game week I would maybe not consider Haaland as captain would be game week 19, when we have got some other players with double game weeks, and Haaland is playing against Chelsea in that week as well. So maybe that's an opportunity to go for someone else. But aside from that, Haaland captain all the way. Next up, Sam Greenwood, who I guess I have to put him in optional. Like, he's not going to score any points, we know that, but when people buy Greenwood, he's like, you buy him not expecting him to get points. You buy him to put him third on your bench and never play him ever. And you just, you have that cheap player and you spend the rest of the money on a fifth midfielder. If you're getting Greenwood, however, it probably means that you are going to be taking a -4 this week, because I'm guessing it's because you're making 2 transfers to switch things up, to switch up your structure a little bit. And I think it would be a bit of a shame to take a -4 immediately after, you know, a limited transfers. I don't know. I think there's some decent forwards that you could possibly go for where you don't necessarily need to switch up your formation. I guess that's kind of up to you, but yeah, we'll put him in optional. Obviously, we know he's not a great pick necessarily, but he's the best pick to go for if you want a dead spot for your forward position. Next up, Van Dijk. I'm also going to put Van Dijk in the avoid category, just because Liverpool have once again shown that they are a very weak defence. They are one of the weakest defences in the entire league this season, which is really not good. When we're spending this kind of money on a defender, we want to have at least a chance of a few clean sheets, and I don't think you can get that from Van Dijk. Yes, he will score the occasional header from a corner once every, I don't know, 8 games or something like that, but if you're paying this amount of money, you want, you know, maybe a chance of attacking returns, but you also want to have clean sheets as well. You need both of them. And Liverpool, I just feel like they are not looking like they're going to get too many clean sheets. And it's just so much money for a player who doesn't offer you consistent clean sheets, really. So Van Dijk is going to have to be an avoid for me. We've got Andy Robertson, who I do think is a slightly better pick because his attacking returns are likely to be a little bit more consistent. He's a pretty good attacking player. Whereas Van Dijk, you are depending on the random factor a little bit in terms of your FPL returns. Robertson is a little bit more predictable, and he is going to be getting up the pitch and putting in crosses and making passes and taking the occasional shots and getting into some dangerous areas occasionally as well. So I think it's optional, but still a lot of money for a player who doesn't give us the clean sheets. Next up, Callum Wilson. I think I'm going to have to put Callum Wilson in the avoid category for now. He did miss game week 17 due to illness, but the latest comments coming from Newcastle at the moment are that because Wilson was, you know, so ill apparently that he was just completely unable to do anything, then maybe he's going to need a few more days to kind of like get his immune system back to full strength. It was the comments. So next fixture for Newcastle only a couple of days away, so therefore maybe he's not going to be quite ready. If he needs to boost his immune system or whatever, then it's probably a little bit risky to go for him now. Maybe we can wait one more game week to go for him, and there are also some much better options to go for in the forward positions as well, I would say. Fabian Schär, I'm going to put in, I kind of want to put him in avoid, but I'm going to put him in optional. I'm going to put him in optional. I do think if I'm going to go for a cheap Newcastle defender, then it's probably going to be Botman. But Botman is 4.4 million, so he's 0.5 million cheaper. So that would be definitely the player I would prefer to go for than Fabian Schär. Fabian Schär offers you a little bit more in terms of expected goals, attacking potential. You know, we know Fabian Schär can score the occasional goal, can't he? But certainly not enough that it justifies spending the 0.5 extra million. So very low optional for me, arguably an avoid, but the clean sheets are likely to come from Newcastle. Once again, another good defensive performance from them, and yeah, I think Newcastle defenders in general are a good place to go, in general anyway. Saliba, I'm going to put straight in avoid. Like, I know I could probably say this, you know, a similar argument as with Fabian Schär. I'll just go for Botman instead of Fabian Schär, but at least Fabian Schär offers a little bit more attacking potential than Saliba. Saliba, unfortunately, just has nothing going for him over the likes of Gabriel and Ben White. I mean, you could arguably say that Saliba is more likely to get bonus points, but even that, I'm not 100% convinced by that, just because Saliba seems to get bonus points in the occasions where he's scored like these random goals, random assists kind of early on in the season, which, you know, he's proven that he can't do consistently. Fantastic defender, but he's not an attacking threat in the same way as his teammates Gabriel, who is, you know, at the big set piece attacking threat, and Ben White, who is, you know, a little bit, has that little bit of creativity on the right hand side, and we've seen that again in game week 17. So Saliba, a player who is more expensive, significantly more expensive than Ben White, and a little bit more expensive than Gabriel, and actually offers less, there is absolutely no point in going for him, and it wouldn't be an FPL Mate video if we didn't put Saliba in the avoid section. But people keep buying him. I don't get why. You know, I'm sure most of you guys know by now that Gabriel and White are better picks, but you know, we got to put him in. We got to put him in. He's a popular transfer still. Kieran Trippier, straight in the must buy category. Once again, this guy is phenomenal. This guy's a beast. He's amazing. So I feel like you have to get him. You do have to get him, surely. If you don't have him by now, sort it out, guys. Sort it out. You know, surely you can transfer one of your defenders out and upgrade them to Trippier. Consistent clean sheets from a great Newcastle defense, and Trippier being on those set pieces as well, and, you know, putting in the crosses, being that advanced of the fullbacks, really. It really is so much going for him at the moment, and it's just making him a bit of a FPL icon for this season, I would say. Now, in Nketiah, I'm going to put in good transfer. The only reason I'm not quite prepared to put him in great transfer is because I've seen that Arsenal are really looking to get another forward player, whether that be a winger or a central striker, and I'm guessing that that player is going to come in and replace Nketiah in the short term, and then Jesus is going to come in, knocking Nketiah even further down the pecking order in a little bit more time. But yeah, Nketiah seems like, yes, he did very well to score his goal yesterday, but at the same time, I can see him coming in and out of the team, especially when we get to that double game week. There's potential for him to come out of the team. Let's see what happens in the transfer market for Arsenal, but it seems like Arsenal are looking to replace him. Transfer market opens in just a few days' time. So is he going to be a good player for the long term? Maybe. He's still a good transfer. I still think he's a good pick, but he's not, because of these other factors, it's kind of putting me off putting him any higher than this. In the short term, though, I think he could be a decent little pick, to be fair. Nick Pope next. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like goalkeeper transfers now is probably not a great idea. If you want to go for a Newcastle, get in on the Newcastle defence, I'd probably rather go for, like I say, Botman, Trippier, even maybe Fabian Schär. 5.3 million is quite a lot for a goalkeeper, to be fair, so I don't know. I think he is optional. Like, he is not a bad goalkeeper to have in your team. Would I use a transfer to bring him in? Probably not. So that's what I think puts him in the optional category. So I'm going to put him there. Martinelli, a great transfer, still providing the best value in terms of midfielders around that price. If you're looking for a midfielder, around, 6.5, 7 million. Martinelli is just the clear, obvious answer. He will be consistently the obvious answer. He's just the best pick in that situation, and potential for him to maybe come in and play some games at striker as well. That's been spoken about a lot at the moment. In terms of the next player, Salah, he's really difficult to pick because I'm guessing that if you're buying Salah, you're having to sell someone. Now, if you're selling Son, then I think Salah is a great transfer. If you're selling De Bruyne, I think you're maybe getting a little bit ahead of yourself here. If you're selling Harry Kane, again, I think you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself here. Remember, Harry Kane has got double game week in 20 as well. So would I be moving for Salah now? No. But would I like to have Salah in my team? Possibly yes. So it's really difficult. Is he a good transfer? I would say no. I'd say Salah, no matter what you're doing, unless you're selling, maybe a Bruno Fernandes, maybe a Son, maybe a Sterling, maybe, possibly, even though Sterling has a double game week as well, Fernandes has good fixtures. It's difficult for me to find a situation where it would be worthwhile buying Salah at this point. If you already have him, great, amazing player to have. Would I buy him? No. So I think that puts him in the optional category in terms of whether you use a transfer in him. But remember, guys, I'm talking about transfers. These tier list videos, they are about would you use a transfer on this player, not are they a good player, because we know Salah is a reasonably decent pick. Darwin Nunez, again, I guess a similar situation. Would I be buying him right now? It depends who I'm selling. There are some other forwards, to be fair, that I would sell for Darwin. If you've got like a Callum Wilson you're not totally happy with, if you've got some other forwards that you're a little bit worried about, then Darwin I think is a decent player to move to. And I know people are going to be screaming at their screens, their mobile phone screens, their computer screens, their television screens, saying, Dan, have you seen this guy finish? Man, honestly, let me tell you, and we're going to talk about Darwin in more detail in tomorrow's buy, sell, keep, avoid video. But Darwin's numbers, his underlying numbers are so good. They are ridiculously good. He gets so many chances to score, and he will score some of them. I know it looks like he's missed a few chances, and I know that can be really frustrating when you own him in FPL and when you watch him play, but he is a dangerous player. He is always the danger man for that Liverpool team, and I think if anyone's going to score goals, it's between him and Salah really at the moment, isn't it? So if you expect Liverpool to score a few goals per game, and they are still scoring goals even though they can't defend, Darwin's going to be involved. So I feel like, would I rather have Darwin than Nketiah? Probably. Would I rather have him than Martial? Probably. So I think he's a good transfer still. Like, I know that's controversial, and I know some people are going to agree with that, some people are going to disagree with that. The numbers are all there, and the first step for any forward is to have the opportunities to score. If he gets 5 big chances per game and only scores 1 of them, that's absolutely fine. That's just as good as getting a forward who gets 1 good chance a game and finishes it every single time. Doesn't matter. You get the same amount of FPL points either way. So Darwin Nunez, I'm going to put him in a good transfer. And anyone thinking of selling him, I don't think I would. I really don't. I mean, I've got him in my team. I'm not going to sell him, probably. There's only probably one player who I would consider selling Darwin for, and we're going to talk about that player a little bit later. Right, next up, Reece James, looking for the double game week in Game Week 19 for Reece James. I think it's a pretty good move to go for him. So let's put him in the great transfer category. Hopefully he's going to be able to get some game time and play at least 60 minutes in all of the games. Chelsea, you've got some good opportunities for clean sheets as well. So I like it. Harry Kane, a similar situation to Salah. You know, would I be buying him now? Who am I sacrificing in order to get him? It's a really difficult one. In terms of a straight transfer, probably the only way of getting Kane is to sell Haaland. Otherwise, you're going to have to take a -4 to do it. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So I do think he's a good player to have in your team. Again, the double game week, I'm looking forward to for Harry Kane. I think that's going to be a good opportunity for him against City and Arsenal. 2 fixtures where he does like to play against these teams. We know Kane can be that big game player. But would I buy him at this junction for a -4 points? No, I would not. Still, I'd rather have him than Kai Havertz. Next up, Marcus Rashford. Good transfer, I suppose. Yeah, I think he's a good transfer. He's decent enough. I wouldn't be, you know, there's obviously Martinelli and maybe some other midfielders I would prefer to go for. We've got a couple of midfielders coming up next who I think I would prefer to Rashford, but still, I think he's a fairly good pick. Very good value for money. Yeah, if you want him, why not? Next up, Saka. Is he a great transfer? I don't know if I'm quite happy just because the price. Yeah, okay, let's put him in great transfer, like 8 million. Yes, it's a decent amount of money, but again, he was in fantastic form yesterday. Arsenal are looking really good. Even though their fixtures are not great, I still would want to be going in on some Arsenal attackers right now. Potential double game week in 21, that's looking pretty likely at this point. So maybe we are going to be looking to load up on some Arsenal attackers. Maybe, you know, 2 attackers, 1 defender. If Arsenal have a double game week, you are going to want to do that, really. So, therefore, Saka, I think he's going to go in great transfer. Penalties as well. That's always a really big benefit from him, and he's just a fantastic player. He doesn't offer the same value for money as Martinelli, but 8 million is not like super expensive. You could do a lot worse. You could do a lot worse. Next up, Ødegaard. Again, I'm going to put him in the great transfer category. I'm going to put him around the same as Saka. I think all of these Arsenal midfielders are good players to pick up in general, especially considering that double game week. They're all nailed on. They don't get rotated really at all. And Ødegaard is more and more so becoming an actual genuinely good FPL option. He started off the season and last season where he wasn't taking enough shots. He wasn't actually creating enough final balls. But now he is. He's creating, you know, he's taking the assists. He's taking shots on. He's on some set pieces as well. And actually, it's looking better and better for Ødegaard as we go forward. So, yeah, another player, very, very good price that I think has to come into consideration. As soon as that Arsenal double game week, it looks to be locked in. We're all going to be, you know, our heads will be swiveling to these Arsenal midfielders. Most of you guys will have Martinelli already. Then we can think about adding Saka, Ødegaard, Nketiah, Ben White if you don't already have him, Gabriel if you prefer to spend a little bit more money. Arsenal players are going to be players we're going to want to pick up en masse very, very soon. And why not get ahead of the game a little bit there? Almiron, I'm going to put in the must-buy category as well. I think you've got to have him. I'm going to maybe even put him higher than Trippier because the price is so good. Nah, actually, you know, Almiron is a legend, but he's not quite Trippier level of legendary quite yet. But yeah, 5.8 million. I feel like you just must have him. Like, I'm looking through the midfielders. And yes, we have these Arsenal guys, but Almiron, with the price that he is, you really can't do better for that money. Like, he's just like the ultimate cheap midfielder to have in your team. So, guys, I feel sorry for anyone who was unable to get him into their team because he's terrorising defences. Still, after all this time, we were concerned maybe his form wouldn't carry through after the break. It has. We saw him in friendly matches. We've seen him now again yesterday. He's an absolute beast. Next up, Toney. I feel like I'm going to have to put him in the avoid category. Maybe I'll put him in optional. All right, I'm going to put him very low optional. Very low optional. I'm not a fan of this one. Toney has got average fixtures. He's got a impending ban. His underlying stats, however, and his performances have been good. Now, Toney, we're not exactly sure. In about a week's time, Toney has to respond to these allegations of gambling offences. Huge, ridiculous amounts of gambling offences, supposedly. And if he does get banned from football, we could see him banned there's no real limit. This is kind of unprecedented how long he could be banned from football for. We know Brentford are already in the transfer market looking and trying to find Toney's replacement in case he does get banned, because there's a kind of a ongoing theory that this is actually going to happen. But we're not 100% sure. So if I had Toney right now, I would be keeping him until I had to sell him, because you know, he's in such good form, his stats are good, and he's got so much to prove, and this might be his last opportunity to play football at the professional level for a very long time. So he's going to be doing everything he can. He's going to be absolute highest tier of motivation. He's got to be, you know, a player who's going to be doing okay over the next few weeks. But to buy him, there's arguably no point in buying him, because there's so many other forwards that, you know, can provide the same amount, maybe even slightly more than Toney, who you know you don't have to transfer them out later, who you might have double game weeks for coming up shortly as well. There's all kinds of other factors that just mean that Toney, there's not really much point in going for him. So we're going to put him there. And finally, Mitrovic, who is a real difficult one. I feel like, is he a must-buy? Not quite. I think he is a great transfer, though. Let's put him just here, right next to Martinelli. Double game week for Mitrovic in game week 19. We know he can score against anyone, don't we? He is an absolute machine. I do wonder if the fact that he was playing against a 9-man team with 2 defenders sent off for Crystal Palace may have skewed our opinions of him a little bit, but at the same time, we've seen consistently that he has been an absolute machine, an absolute beast on penalties as well, taking an insane amount of shots, doing kind of, you know, everything that Fulham do. It's kind of all about Mitrovic, really. And the double game week looks good. The next game week is against Southampton. Like, the next 2 games look good. If you're going to buy Mitrovic, I would buy him now or next game week. I would get in there sooner rather than later. Is he absolutely essential? I don't think he's quite absolutely essential, but he is close, and that double game week is looking real good. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm saying. You know, the likes of Mitrovic, the likes of Nketiah, Martial, even Kai Havertz, I'd probably rather take than Toney at this junction. Mitrovic, incidentally, would probably be the only player that I would sell the likes of Darwin, Nketiah, Martial, Kane, Havertz. If you have these players already, Toney, and you're not fully convinced by them for whatever reason, I would potentially sell them for Mitrovic, even though those other players aren't necessarily great players, right? They're not necessarily great transfers out. I mean, like, they are still decent players, but Mitrovic is even better. It's a little bit luxury, but I feel like he could be a good player to bring in. But certainly, those players at the top level, Haaland, Trippier, Almiron, most of you guys are going to have these players already. Martinelli, Mitrovic, James, and then potentially Saka and Ødegaard as well there. These top players here are the players you want to be targeting, I think. I think they're looking good for the upcoming game weeks, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they can produce, guys. So that's going to be it, guys. That is the tier list. These are where I rank the players. Let me know what you think. Any player you think I've got really wrong, any player that you think is in the absolute perfect spot, any just opinions about some of these players. Always interested to hear some of your guys' views. And of course, if there's a player who I haven't included on this list, maybe a slightly less popular transfer, maybe a slight differential, and you want to ask me where I would personally put them on this tier list, just drop their name in the comments and I'll give my opinion now. I'm sure that will be interesting to some people. But yeah, always love the discussion in the comments section around all of these players. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. It really does help out the channel so much. Can we shoot for 1,000 likes on this video? That would be absolutely insane. Do subscribe if you're new around here as well. And tomorrow, we're going to have one more video. So we're going to have a buy, sell, keep, avoid video tomorrow. And then we're also going to do a stream. It's going to be my birthday tomorrow. So we're going to do a birthday stream. And we're going to try and raise a little bit of money for charity, for mental health charity. So if you'd like to get involved, hopefully I'll see a few of you guys over there. I will tweet out probably and maybe post on my community page on YouTube as well when we're going to do that. But yeah, hopefully I'll see a few of you guys there, and we'll just talk about FPL and raise some money for charity. I think that's a very good thing. So yeah, that's how I want to spend my birthday tomorrow anyway. Hopefully you would like to join. So yeah, there we go, guys. Gonna leave it there for today. Hopefully see you for tomorrow's content, but until then, I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.